Hey, let's hit our CougarBoard question of the week.
Let's do it.
And we discussed a little bit, but we'll expound on it a little bit more, and then we'll get to a few more headlines and roll us out of here. But CougarBoard question of the week, I've got it here. If you're not familiar with the CougarBoard, it's the largest online community of BYU fans. Thousands of posts every day. This question comes from Curdy, one of their inside subscribers. And the question is, how do you see the House settlement affecting BYU sports? We talked a little bit at the beginning of the show about the House settlement, but how does this directly affect BYU?
I think it can go two ways. It could impact BYU in a positive way if there's not too much like, actually, I'm sorry, the settlement where they're paying the money.
Yeah, well, and I think she's probably talking about. I think Curtis probably talking about the whole thing.
Okay, I was gonna say because this probably doesn't affect BYU. We got money, but as far as like the overall thing, I think if there's no cap, right? If it's not truly regulated, I mean, look at what we've done in NIL so far. So it potentially could play into our favor. If it is capped, I don't think that.
At least it's a level playing field if it's capped. Yeah. And we now know that BYU can compete in an NIL world. We know that, especially watching basketball this last year, right?
The only thing I could think of the issue is if they decide to hire them as employees, what does that look like from the church standpoint? Because we're hired, right?
We work for BYU TV.
We work for BYU TV, which is
part of the university and part of the church, right?
Part of the church. So in actuality, I mean, how I see that is that I'm a church employee, right? Like I got to go and get my ecclesiastical this week, right? To keep up with it. So would BYU look at that and say, do we want to hire her?
Well, it'll actually be because none of that has been fleshed out.
Right.
I do think having some restrictions on it makes the level playing field. So like a Texas or an Ohio State just can't go out and purchase everybody, or Miami can't pay a quarterback $10 million. They'll be over their cap, right? So I think that's there. I think BYU's shown that they can compete as long as there's some structure around it. I worry about them limiting the rosters to 105 in football.
Yeah.
Because BYU's always operated with 123 or more. And some unbelievable walk-on players who have gone on to be Pro Bowlers would have been part of that between the 105 to 123. So here's the interesting thing, and I don't know how BYU's going to manage this. So the settlement now says if you were already part of the program or you're already committed, they can have more than 105 for this next year for a year only. Well, guess what happened to all the schools? They had discussions at the end of spring ball. They didn't cut them. They told kids, listen, we're probably only going to be able to have 105. We're going to help you go find another place. You saw some people in the transfer portal that's the discussion they had. Yeah. And they went elsewhere that if this thing had come out earlier, they would have kept them. And they might have been able to develop. And kids, I think, would have stayed. So I don't like the timing of that because I think we lost some kids that they would have loved to have be part of this program. Unfortunately,
when the judge rebutted and said, hey, if you can show me roster cuts, and it doesn't have to be immediately.
Right.
Here's an example. Maybe taper off 5 every year till you get to 105 or whatever. Right. Whatever that number was that they agreed on. But I guess the NCAA, when they came back and proposed it, they fumbled. And then the judge delayed it and said, this is not what I asked for. So if they would have did it a month prior or
we would have kept some other kids, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see how they're going to administer how they're going to distribute the money, how this whole, how it's going to be. They talk like, hey, positions and where there'll be a standard rate for different things. I'm still waiting for all that to come down and see how
it's absolutely crazy.
It's unbelievably complicated what they're proposing they're going to do, and I got to see a lot more detail.
You can't like putting a value on not only by position is insane, because what if a guy playing position A, his position is lower level valued from this standard that they created, but this specific player is more valuable to me on my team. He's going to get less money.
Or what if from a from a perspective he's a more visible athlete that brings more eyes to it and brings more revenue. I know.
Yeah, right.
It's very complicated. I'm just going to say this. We're going to leave it at this for our CougarBoard question. BYU's in a position to manage this.
Yeah, yes.
They got a lot of smart people. Each sport has a general manager now. The two big, basketball and football have general managers that are helping to manage it. that are business people.
Yeah.
BYU has resources, so they can compete in the NIL world. I think we've seen this in this last year. I can't see it hurting BYU. The only thing the positive is there's going to be some structure around it. BYU will figure out how to navigate the structure as quick as anybody will. So I have confidence that BYU will be on the top side of the curve and be fine.
Just like we were with NIL, right?
Yep.
Like, did you remember we were one of the first headlining, deals.
We immediately
Gilbar, right?
gave walk-ons the Bill Bar deal.
Exactly.
Made national news. Look
National
hey, this is how you're supposed to do it.
Yep.
BYU will lead out, and you watch, and they'll be just fine.
And a side note, I heard that with the restructure, the way that BYU initially did NIL, that's what they're trying to go back to.
Which I think is great.
Which is the
BYU
right way.
will lead out because they always do, right? So there you go. There's your answer for that.
Thank you for watching The Wise Guy.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.